welcome back to the channel. This episode is about the installation of our diesel heater. Not the simplest thing in the world, and I'll need to do a bit of a brief explanation. Essentially, we're having a cab divider between where the driver's area is and the house side of the van. The diesel heater needs to be connected into the diesel sender, which is underneath the passenger seats at the front in the cab. So what we've had to do is remove the seats to get at the sender, to then get the pipework arranged, to then put the seats back in again so we can finish the bulkhead. And in the process of doing this, we've also needed to get the cables from the starter battery through to where the DC-DC chargers are going to be as well, all at the same time, because once the seats go back in the front and the insulated bulkhead go back in, then essentially there's no more getting at these things, so they need to be done first. So this is a two-parter. So the first part is about how we essentially get the pipes into the sender. Part two is about picking up the house side, where we then install the actual diesel heater. If there's anything you need clearing up, if I can help at all, then just drop us a comment and I'll be sure to answer. Enjoy. Alright, so getting these seats out looks like it's not going to be too challenging. From what I can make out here, there's a bolt at the front there, there's a bolt at the front there, and there's two locking pins at the back. So the idea is when you undo these two bolts, the seat can then slide out from the locking pins forwards. The bolts that have come out here, if you see there's all this green stuff on it, that almost definitely is thread lock. So you can get a little tube of Loctite thread lock, and when you go to put these back in again, it's pretty important to just cake it onto the thread. This is green, not sure what the difference is, but the Loctite stuff that I normally use is blue. And then yeah, you run that down the thread, and as you wind it in, it stops any vibrations of the van from starting to work the bolt loose. The sender unit for the fuel pump is under there, and from what I understand as well, the battery I think is under here, and then I'll need to feed some cables from there to the underside of here where my DC-DC chargers are going to go. So after a bit of messing around, I'm back to doing the cables. So I don't really need to get the cables all that far really, I just need to get them ultimately from here, the battery. And this is for the DC-DC chargers, which are going to be positioned under the passenger seat here. So I've uncovered all of this to find that there is a channel, a ducting, a conduit channel here, that also then goes around the corner and fits onto there. So I'm just going to use that. Come out of there, through here, and just pull a little hole here somewhere and then just bring it up. Let's lie here for the rest of our days. Still I can't forgive my ways, and it's time to not fall for me. My cards are right. So got my new cables in. These are 16mm, and so they're going to go to it's like a junction. From the junction I can then feed off slightly smaller cables to then go to the DC-DC charger. Chargers, because I've got two of them. I wanted 60 amps here. So now I've got all this done, I thought it'd be worth pressing down on this and having a look. So I've got my head right down in there and see, and actually the pressing up and down on here doesn't touch any of the cables I've just put in, nor any of the existing. So I'm pretty happy with that lot. Now all of these are all nicely into place, they're clipped, they've got these special little clip things on here, so I'm happy. Obviously this end I've just left them loose, and the other ends are there. The cables I've put some lecky tape around them just to insulate them, stop them from potentially touching anything. Sometimes I feel we're running. So next on the agenda, let's have a look at the tank sender. So I've been on YouTube, seen a few videos, seen how other people have done it. I asked Luke up at RTR Camper Conversions, great guy, you should definitely go and see him if you're nervous about any part of the build. Yeah, he can pretty much do everything, so his advice on this matter was valuable. Ultimately, I've got to take the sender unit out, that's why the seats have been removed, and once I've got it out, I then need to drill a hole through the sender unit and actually drop a line in. You can't just take a feed from an existing hose. Apparently it starts to mess with the like fuel system for the van. You know, obviously fuel is being taken through a line which it shouldn't be, and it's being metered or whatever. Anyway, old intelligent boy over here decided 2 days ago to fill the fuel tank. So now I've got to drain the fuel tank to then do what I need to do.
Try and hold them to the wind. Paint your shell.
Sender unit. This is it. So there's a vent pipe. There looks like a flow and a return, and then there's the electrical connection there. I've got to get all of these off, and then this big white piece here twists off. I've put a couple of little spots down here as my options of where I can put the little fuel nipple, which is just in there, which you can just see now. So as long as I've got the clearance around any of these sections for that, then that's all fine. So from a safety point of view, first thing to do, a lot of people disconnect the battery. I don't particularly think that's essential, but what I will do is I will remove the electric first, pop that out. I'm going to put that in this bag and tape it up. Then it'll be the fuel lines, and I'll give that, there will be a little bit of spillage from that, so I'll give that all a good mopping up, and then yeah, see if we can use this new tool which comes in pieces which I have to assemble to get it out. And ultimately this is the tool. So these things go on there to the prescribed width, and then you put your torque wrench on there, should come off. It's not moving. It's a bit more. Christ, I don't know how much pressure to put through this. Make sure these are tight. Oh, it's going, I think. Oh wow. Oh, hello. There she be. Right, where's my bucket? Okay, so there it is out. This little reservoir thing seems to be pretty full of fuel. From what I understand, I dropped my fuel line down into this. Alright, so on the fitting instructions, which I have here, it says that I'm to drill the 8mm hole right there. Let me point that out a bit easier for you. So right there. So I've now positioned the washer where it says that I should drill. It is flat on the top there. The underside has got some kind of like embossed writing, but I think the underside's okay as long as I can get it tightened up. The seal is on the top, so it's just important to make sure that the seal sits nice and flat onto the top surface, which would be this rubber seal here, which then will go down there, which go straight through that whole thing there and tighten up. This little nylon piece of thing that you can see sticking out here, this is apparently just to keep the actual hole, the line, clear. So you remove this piece. So now I've got my hole drilled in the top there, you can just about see it. This now needs to drop in. So this gets removed, that drops in, lovely. And then washer and back nut. You can see the blue fuel line fits inside one of these little kind of loopy things down inside the sender, which is where you're supposed to guide it. Then there's a rubber straight on there with the Jubilee clip, and a straight at the top that fits onto the other side of this. A little sort of fuel nipple, if you like. Now I'm going to try it in.
She's so young, she don't know what it means, and I really want to leave. Just do this job right. With all of this cash, we have no quality of life, and I see a fuel weight bearing down on us. 7 rockheads are kicking up fuss, and I need to breathe some air. It's so dark, sitting here waiting. They're on top, and she's catching my eye in the dark. I can't hear what she's saying. Same way she feels, she knows, thinking about her ideas, and now she's losing years. Me and the lads were all catching up with Jaws. There's Lucy leaving boots with a security guard. I turn my face away, did she catch my eye? My mates are all wondering why I pick at my thigh. She's staggering past, she looking at me. Remembering my face, I feel so guilty. She used to be assault 2 years ago. Overdone it in a rush, mate, she let herself go. I need to breathe some air, it's so dark, sitting here waiting. They're on top and she's catching my eye in the dark. I can't hear what she's saying.
Just gonna finish cleaning up. A lot of diesel come out of there because the diesel tank was full. So I recommend to anybody doing this, don't do what I do what I say, which is make sure that the fuel tank is pretty low before you attempt this. We can't leave the open end of the diesel heater's connection open like that. So I've got all the remaining connections here, so I'm going to take the line off to where I need it to go and then seal it at the other end. I haven't worked out how I want to seal it yet, but probably just put a bit of hose on the end and just clamp it. Yeah. Okay, now what I've got is a piece of conduit. This stuff, it's just baby stuff, 10mm I think it is. And what I've done is I've ran that down this side of the fuel tank to then go off down beneath the van. I've just cable tied it onto the yellow one of these fuel pipe things. I've then ran the blue pipe down into it, and now I'm just going to connect the blue fuel pipe in there. You might see I've put a mark on the end of there, and the reason for that is just so I know exactly how far in it is to then put the Jubilee clip directly over the pair of them to make sure I'm not missing it. Little tippy trick. Tippy tricks. There we go, so I know that's in far enough. That then goes on there. I might change the orientation of this, but I haven't fitted the bottom one yet. I don't want the metal of the Jubilee clip rubbing particularly on the van's fuel line, for fairly obvious reasons. Alright, let's time lapse this.
It's all over now, but how she makes me feel like there could be more. She come back on empty wings, and I'm so pleased to think it's all happening. Now I feel empty. She don't want me that way. Her mind has changed, but she forgets how close we were the other day. There's someone else, your eyes told me so secretly. Always knew you were never really into me. Someone else, you're telling me something else. You ain't telling me. Tell me that you wanted that thing, but I never knew. Back in my mind, I didn't think that I realised.
So I pretty much run out of battery power completely on all of my camera devices. Basically, I do it on phones, but they run out of battery, so I couldn't film the very end and how I terminated the pipe work. So I'll just briefly explain. So out the top of the sender, we had the little nipple. I call it a nipple. It's just a funny word for me. That essentially we have to put this kind of rubber pipe onto, and then feed our plastic pipe into that, and put a pair of Jubilee clips on there to keep that in place. That pipe then went down the side of the fuel tank, and then down the edge of the van underneath, picking up. There are a few other bits under the van of pipe work and cabling, which I think are brake pipes and various bits and pieces. And so we just used that route, and then cable tied the diesel pipe down to roughly the area where we're going to be installing the diesel heater into the van. And then all we did then is we've got the plastic pipe for feeding the diesel heater, put one of these rubber connector sleeves over the top of it and Jubilee clipped it. And then on the other end of that rubber sleeve, which is open, I put in a round piece of like round piece of metal, essentially 4mm round, shoved it down there, and then Jubilee clipped that up. And that's pretty much then how I left it for quite a long time. We then had a lot of work to do working from the front of the van backwards. So the diesel heater then only gets fitted later. The Eberspacher diesel heater that we installed doesn't come with a great deal of instructions. So I had to lean quite heavily on the advice from a friend at RTR Campers, Luke, and YouTube, basically. Explorist Life, as a guy called Nate. He runs basically how-to videos on everything to do with campers, and he had exactly the same diesel heater, so it was really useful to see a couple of the bits that he did in that. So those people you should definitely look at. Also, the instructions really are that bad. They come on a CD-ROM, and I don't own a CD-ROM player machine thing. I don't even know if I'm saying the words right, it's that old. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. Part 2 will be coming out in a few weeks, I hope, and so stay tuned for that. Obviously, if you want to be notified when the next one comes out, click the little bell thing, then do the likey subscribey. Yeah, thanks very much. See you in the next one.